Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground magazine, and this is another edition of WCM's Park Update. Of course, my co-host Mike Gast, the president of the Imi Ola Group, is with me in beautiful Nebraska. Nebraska's always this is the best time of year to visit Nebraska, right, Mike?
Wrong.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I've been here 2.5 years now and haven't quite figured out when the best time is.
Okay. All right. Well, and our guest today is Sean Vidrine, who is the CEO of 4 Points RV Resorts, and he's also an ad hoc member of the Public Affairs Committee which is part of the Ojai board. Not a board member, but is involved in there. And Sean, it's great seeing you. I believe I saw you. You were at OHCE last fall, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, I think I saw you there. That was a great event. And I know you just were at the Louisiana show, correct?
Yes, I'm a part of that board here in Louisiana and had a really good turnout this year. So we're very happy to see that.
Yeah, it looked like a great event. And you were telling us before the show, you guys have had, you're from Louisiana, and you had to deal with 9 inches of snow recently.
Yes, which was very interesting and actually a lot of fun. Kids were out
Yeah.
of school, so neighbors came over. We cooked gumbo. We had a fire on the back patio in our fireplace, and pulled the kids around on the side by side and on a little makeshift sled. So it was fun down here. Whenever it snows, which is about once every 10 years.
Yeah.
And normally not enough to even stay on the ground, but this year we got 9 inches, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
I want to live where snow just comes to visit. That's
Right. We would like it to visit a few times a year, but we don't get it that often. So we made sure that we made the most out of it when we got it.
I'm with Mike. I'm ready for it just to visit too. I live in Michigan. Yeah,
Oof.
I hate winter, but seeing the kids in the snow, like what you mentioned, you only get so long with them. So
Yeah.
it's fun to
Right.
see that. When they're in their 30s, it's not quite as fun to see them in the snow. I guess I don't.
Right.
then there are you.
Then they're me.
Right. Right.
So, well, Sean, it's great having you back on the show. Obviously, I think we had something in January about you guys moving another park into the Jellystone system. I guess just explain a little bit about how many parks you guys have in your system now, how things are moving along here in 2025, I guess.
Yeah. So we just added a property right here in my hometown in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and we are in the process of converting that to a Jellystone. Construction is underway. It's going to have 385 sites, including 14 cabins, new store, two pools, a splash pad with water slide, Whibbit obstacle course, and a whole lot of other amenities such as jumping pillow, gym mining, and other things. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
And currently, including that property, we own and operate 7 locations throughout the country, 5 of which are Jellystone parks.
What's the name of the new one, Sean?
It's Jellystone Lake Charles.
Yeah, and I guess you have 7.5. I guess you're pretty embedded in the Jellystone system. Is that correct me if I'm wrong? You guys started out with a couple of Jellystones, right? Or did you start out without or
Our first
transition?
our first park was Paradise Ranch,
Okay.
and that one is not a Jellystone, and
Okay.
we have not brought that one into the system. But our second purchase was Jellystone Pine Lakes in Pittsfield, Illinois. So we've steadily acquired several more Jellystones throughout the years, and this will be the second park that we convert to a Jellystone. So really like the brand, really enjoy working with the franchise and all those folks. So we're really optimistic about what the brand will do here in Lake Charles, and we're looking forward to a 2025 strong season. We're shooting to open grand opening for Memorial Day weekend is what we're shooting for.
So, Sean, you're obviously in a position where you don't have to have a franchise. Why the franchise decisions?
There's a couple of reasons for that. One is, especially for this property, this particular location was previously like a long-term work work camp type customer. People would come into the area to work in, projects, refineries, chemical plants. And what we felt like by bringing the Jellystone brand to this park, number one, it used to be a Jellystone years ago. So bringing the Jellystone brand back was something that, we felt like the community wanted to see. And then number two, we wanted to really kind of condense the ramp up period. And we felt like the Jellystone brand would help us do that, help us create awareness quicker than we would had we just, rebranded it a different name under a private name.
Yeah. Now, this is a park you acquired and you're transitioning into the system, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any new developments that you've built, or do you just mainly acquire parks?
No, what we do is we typically look for value add opportunities where,
Mhm.
parks already currently have existing revenues and cash flows that we can then build upon and expand. Um, I know that a lot of people have done well with new development. It just doesn't fit our model, because the ramp up period does take time. You have construction risk. You have, things are more expensive. So we like to buy existing revenues and then build upon that.
Yeah.
It looks
And
like you're kind of all over the place as far as geographics go. Is geography a factor when you're looking for new parks?
I would say for the most part, no. If the deal itself makes sense, it's worth looking at. However, as we continue to grow and we continue to, acquire stuff and we're looking at more deals, we are getting a little bit more. Um, I would say we're looking to make sure that we're balancing out the portfolio to where, we would tend to look now more at, year-round parks because we do have enough that have a 6-month season. But that doesn't mean that if the right deal comes our way that we won't look at it, even though it is at higher latitude than, South Louisiana for sure.
yeah, what are some of the what's something when you're looking for parks? What are some things that turn you off from a park? I guess like kind of
Yeah.
challenges that you aren't willing to tackle. I guess.
I would say first and foremost, what is the ability to expand?
Yeah.
If a park is too small and it doesn't have anywhere to go and we really can't do a whole lot with it, that would probably not fit, in our portfolio. Uh, but if there's a 400 site park or a 300 site park that has a lot of potential by maybe adding some amenities and changing some things operationally to really drive peak performance, then we would definitely take a look at that. So we also like properties that have, some level of natural features that are pleasant, such as lakes or rivers, even mountains, like our parks in Pennsylvania, in mountainous areas. So the scenery is very nice. So we like stuff like that. And then we also like things that are roughly within a 2.5 hour radius of major population areas. So those kind of things are what I would say. If those boxes get checked, then it's worth a deeper look.
So, what's the acquisition market look like out there now? Is it picking back up again?
Um, I would say that we are certainly still looking at things, but we're definitely making sure that it fits our criteria a little bit better. I mean, the interest rate environment is still not where we want to see it, so it does make acquisitions a little bit tighter, and sellers still haven't come off their price. I mean, we're starting to see that move a little bit, but it hasn't moved nearly to the point to where some deals make a lot of sense to look at further because of where interest rates and the cost of capital these days. So I would say I'm optimistic about 25 if the Fed continues to move in the direction like they're talking about, where we continue to see the rates come down, maybe another 50 to 100 basis points. If that happens, then I think you'll see things open up a lot more.
What what's going to make because I hear the same thing about park owners like still wanting a premium for their parks. I know I've talked to a couple of real estate people that mentioned the same thing. I guess in your mind, what makes owners come off of that higher price? Is it like a downturn in a more of a downturn in camper nights, or
Well, I think that there's a couple of factors, and I guess
yeah,
it depends. I guess it depends on who the seller is, right? So, retirement certainly is a big driver for
Mhm.
that. Do do individual owners, are they looking, after working in their park for 20 or 30 years, are they ready, for retirement? That certainly is a driver of that. I think that, from an investment standpoint, um, if you're strictly looking at it as an investment, it's really going to be a driver of, what will the park trade at in this environment? If we can get a good price for a property and a decent cap rate in this market, then it's certainly worth looking at. I know that whenever we look at stuff, when people approach us about buying our assets, the first question I ask myself before I do it is, would I buy this for the price that they're offering? And if the answer to that question is yes, then I would say I just hold what we have. If they offer us something that, that's more than what I'd be willing to pay, then might take a look at it. So I think that there's a lot of variables there, just depending on who the seller is.
We talk, we write some about, parks who are family owned and they try to pass them down to the kids or other family members. And it can be a mess, especially if they don't plan properly. Do
Yeah.
you feel like some of that has led to the growth in like investment groups coming in and being able to acquire some of these locations? It's an easier process for the owners who are looking to retire, I guess?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, we've actually purchased a couple of properties in that same kind of scenario where mom and dad were looking to retire. Either the kids did not want to stay in the business, or the kids were not in the business and didn't want to have anything to do with it. So it definitely helps make those acquisitions, happen. And it's certainly, I mean, that is certainly a real thing, and we see that quite a bit. That especially from individual owner operators that they don't have anyone to pass it to. So that certainly helps make their decision to go ahead and sell.
Coming
So,
out of COVID, we saw a lot of demand and not enough inventory in place. Is
Yeah.
that flipped around a little bit?
Well, I would say the industry as a whole has certainly probably experienced some of that. And I also do think that a lot of it has to do with the type of property that people have. So, for us, being that we're in the transient, what I would consider destination park type properties, we have not experienced that to maybe a level that maybe a true transient park would experience. And I've got some numbers to kind of share with you guys. Like right now, what we're looking at, and it's a little bit of a mixed bag, only because. Because things are, it's a lot of it's geographic dependent, but we have some parks right now that are currently trending at 13% over last year in
wow.
occupancy and revenue. I've got one property that's up 19.6% this year currently versus where it was last year at the same time, and another property that's at 13.8%. And then I have others that are, around, the flat mark. So we're definitely seeing, I'm feeling very optimistic about 2025 because I think that consumer confidence is definitely better than what it was last year. We've gotten past the election, and now I think that people, regardless of what side you're on that, I think that people are like, okay, that's over. We can move forward with our lives, and we can go on. So we're definitely seeing some positive things happening for the 2025 season.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm hearing that too. I know we spoke with Toby a few weeks ago, and she seemed Toby O'Rourke from Campgrounds of America,
Yeah.
and she seemed pretty optimistic about what they're seeing on their end as far as like advanced registrations and things like
Yeah.
that. I guess what are some of the things you look for on the economic side as far as whether it's going to impact campers? Because I always look at gas prices, but I guess gas prices aren't a good indicator. So
Yeah, I think, again, gas prices, I don't think are going to be something that's going to be
yeah,
driving a whole lot. I think one thing that we look at, and that we looked at a lot last year is that, do people have the discretionary income that they had in 2022 and 2023? I think 2024, proved, to a lot of people that people were just holding on to their money a little bit longer, a little bit tighter than they were in the previous years.
mhm.
People are still going to recreate. So if you have a really good product, if you have an affordable vacation option, I think you'll do very well. One thing that we really try to focus on is making sure that we are getting is, driving as much rate as we can, but not to the point to where we're impacting people making a decision to not visit. Um, because the reality is our customer, they are looking for value. They have a lot of money tied up in their RVs. They have a lot of money tied up in the vehicles that pull them. So the last thing that they want to do is spend $200 a night in an RV to bring a family out there. If they can go and get a nice hotel or something like that. So we really try to pay attention to price point, because we also know that if we get the customer in there and we focus on occupancy, then we're going to really drive a lot of ancillary business, especially in the Jellystone system with, the stores, the cafes, the wristbands for the water parks and things like that. So we really take a blended approach. That model doesn't work for everybody. Again, it's really based on the park that you're trying to operate. If I was in Southern Florida and I was going after a different clientele, I might want to drive more rate. If I'm, in a more transient or in a workforce area, rate's going to be a little bit more competitive depending on what the inventory looks like. So I think it's not a one size fits all. I think you really just have to know what type of customer you're looking for, the type of property that you're operating, and then just basically implementing the strategy that works for that property.
So, Sean, what operational cost concerns you the most going into this year?
Insurance.
Yeah.
It's continued to go up year after year. And also credit card fees. We continue to see increases in credit card fees, especially the swipe fees that we have zero control over. And, those can go up at any point in time without any notice. And it can definitely have an impact. So, that there's definitely those costs that that it's a cost of doing business, and there's not a whole lot of warning of what that increase is going to look like.
The insurance industry is tough, but I know you were just in Washington D.C. with Ojai to kind of to advocate for the Credit Card Competition Act, which
Yep.
hopefully Congress will take up this year, and that kind of deals with the swipe fees. The insurance stuff, though, man, I talked to insurance people. I just spoke with Irene Jones from Marshall and Sterling a few days ago, and yeah, I mean it's just brutal for everyone. So
Yep. It's been we've seen the premiums go up, more than double, over the last 5 years.
yeah. You mentioned rates a little bit. I think the Dirt in their recent report that they just came out with their camping report noted that rates, campgrounds that increased their rates fell from 45.3% in 23 to 38.9 in 24. So we're kind of seeing maybe a few parks looking at keeping their rates stable, not necessarily increasing them. Um, a big reason why property owners and managers they surveyed said they increased their rates was because of inflation. But are you concerned at all about, and we asked this of a lot of people, about the rise in site rates and maybe pricing people out of the camping, I guess? Is that a concern at all? Do we reach that limit?
Well, I would say that I feel like that there are certain parks that are probably on the higher end
Yeah.
of maybe a rate structure that people, in our industry are comfortable with. Again, I think it's park specific. If you have a park
Yeah.
that has a lot of demand and you're earning your nights per year available to you at that latitude, then you have the opportunity to increase rates a little bit. If you have a lot of inventory available and you're not hitting your nights per year that you should at that latitude, then you should definitely take a look at your rate structure and what you're offering. So again, it's not a one size fits all. We don't look at our properties and say, okay, we're going to have an increase across the board. We look at specifically what we're doing at each location, and then we make decisions based on our occupancy and revenue at that location.
As part of an investment group, do you look at the number of developments that are happening? I think Jeff Kreider, one of our writers, mentioned there was like 5,000 campsites set to come online, new campsites here in the next year or two. Do you ever look at that and think, wow, there's too many campsites?
Well, again, I think that it depends on the market, right? So
Yeah,
let's just take, for example, a destination area like Gatlinburg, Tennessee. A lot of inventory. So at that point, and the town is the amenity, right? So
yeah,
at that point, you really are competing more on rate for your site and your cabin and people are going to spend their money in town. Whereas if you operate a destination park that is in and of itself a destination,
Mhm.
the numbers change dramatically. So I do think that saturation is a real thing in certain areas, which is why we prefer to actually operate in areas where we don't have that level of saturation, and we can kind of control the market that we operate in, by being the destination.
So Sean, as you grow your company, you've got to be on the lookout for management talent all the time.
Oh yeah.
Where's the next generation of campground management coming from?
That's a great question. I mean, matter of fact, we're looking for some general managers right now for a couple of our properties, and we're interviewing every day. And it's a challenge. The workforce is definitely a challenge. I mean, we are always investing in our own people, and we like to promote from within for people that want to grow with the company. And
Mhm.
we do that through sending them to schools and educations and conferences and things like that to try to educate them more on the industry rather than what's going on just in our properties. But no, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a challenge to find good talent, and we're always on the lookout for it. And we do everything that we can to continue to educate our staff internally, and hopefully somebody that's working, maybe comes in, part time and then becomes full time, and then one day wants to step up and be in a management role. We will certainly invest in those individuals.
What's exciting, I think, is that I mean, there's a ton of colleges and universities that are starting outdoor hospitality programs. I just spoke with Diana Kelly from the California Association at her Campground Solutions Summit that she's hosting in April. They're actually going to have 20 plus college students there that with hospitality degrees that are looking for jobs.
That's
So that's kind
fantastic.
of interesting. And I know Campgrounds of America is growing its internship program. So I mean, I think to some degree, some of that's pretty exciting for the industry.
Absolutely. And now that you mention that, there is there's a college here in Lake Charles that actually just put together a hospitality program as well. So
Yeah.
we've also reached out to them, and we looking for interns that want to come and work for us that are looking for opportunities in the hospitality space.
Yeah, I think some parks the work camper program works for it pretty well, and then others it doesn't. So just having those variety of options and being able to find steady help is important.
Absolutely.
Um, we heard about I've heard a little bit that Canadians have slowed down coming to the south. I guess in Louisiana, do you guys see a lot of Canadians? Do they come down for
Um,
time
I,
camping?
I would say for at least to my knowledge, we don't have that big of an influx of people coming in, especially
Yeah.
snowbirds. There is a park in the eastern side of the state that I do think gets some of that business, but I'm not seeing it over here on the west side of the state.
The majority of the parks in Louisiana are open full year, though, correct? Or
Yes,
not?
that is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. All right. All right. I was just wondering. I mean, I've been reading a lot about the influx of Canadians. Some of them are selling their homes down here now, so it's just been something I try to keep an eye on, I guess.
Interesting.
So Sean,
um,
is there a part of the country that you wish you were in that you've got a kind of a target on?
Yeah, I like the southeast. I like the Carolinas a lot. Texas is always a good market too. So I mean, we're definitely looking there. So again, if I'm looking for things now that to balance out the portfolio, that's where we can operate year round, and continue to add some of those assets in there. Florida, North South Carolina, Texas, all good markets.
yeah. What is the year? What's 2020? What do you hope at the end of 2025? Like, do you hope to have more parks? What's your goal? I guess.
Yeah, well, what I would say is that for us, I mean, we're focused right now on the existing portfolio.
Yeah.
We have done a lot of expansion over the last 5 years.
Mhm.
We've added, you know, close to 300 sites, within the portfolio. So what we're looking for this year is just to focus on stabilization of those new assets.
Yeah.
We are certainly going to continue to look for opportunity for acquisition, and we'll take those opportunities, and we will acquire assets, that fit, the criteria. But more importantly for me right now, I want to just make sure that all of our parks are performing and we're maximizing our occupancy and revenue in our existing portfolio. To me, that's more important than looking for the next one.
Yeah. Well, Sean, it's always great talking with you. I'm sure, are you traveling to any other conferences this year?
I do have some stuff coming up in the spring, but other than that, my next travel will, as far as a conference go, will probably be at Ojai in at the end of the year.
So do you also visit all the parks pretty regularly?
I do. I try to get to those. I try to get to each location at least twice a year. The one in Mississippi and obviously the one here in Lake Charles. That is really close to me. I will visit more than that. But the other ones up north, I try to at least uh, visit at least twice a year.
Well, you got to pack the kids in an RV and just take a tour around the parks during the summer.
That sounds like a great time.
So, but it was great catching up with you, Sean, and thanks for coming on and letting us get an update from you.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
All right. All right. Well, thanks
Good
everyone for
shot.
watching, and we will be back again next week.